right, 2 lanes to keep right.
Hey everyone, welcome back or welcome aboard. You're watching Prepare to Go There. It's the most mission critical conversation that we can be a part of right now. And that's my opinion, but I'm just convinced that our future deserves our focus. And so that's why we're pulling together again for this daily coaching journey as we learn how to pioneer the future together. My name is Peter, and it has been a joy. So much fun to go on this extended coaching journey with you. You inspire me, and I appreciate the time and the investment that you're putting into these conversations, but really the time and energy you're putting into the preparation, right? This is just the pilot light that gets us fired up so that way we can keep our future on the front burner. And I talk about our future a lot, but self-leadership is not selfish. It is being willing to go first. It's being willing to lead yourself into a better future. And so that's why we are taking on the future frontier again, because we know that other people are going to be counting on the choices we're making today. They're not going to notice it today, maybe not in a few months or even a few years, but eventually we're going to be able to have the confidence that we were paving a way that other people could count on later on. And that's really exciting. It's kind of surreal. And so every day matters. And so I just want to kick off the why before we get into this conversation about delegation. It's a big topic. We need to talk about it. And it's going to be a lot better if you join this conversation. That's why I show up live. I'm showing up for you. I hope you're showing up for you too. And so it's great to see friends already in the chat. Joshua, welcome. Sarah Joy, welcome. This is great. I mean, I got 2 amazing delegators already in the chat. So I'm feeling pretty good. I'm going to be pulling on them. Joshua just hosted a community gathering with their church, and they reached over 2,000 people. So he had to leverage delegation, I'm sure. And then Sarah Joy is really just an amazing leader, manager, delegator extraordinaire. And so it's going to be fun to see their input in the comments. If you're watching the replay, thank you. And let's dive in. It's my observation and experience that most people don't know how to lead others into a better future unless and until they lead themselves there first. So that's why the theme of all of these conversations in this video podcast is self-leadership. I believe we're going to need more leaders for the future, not fewer. And I believe that those leaders are going to have to be better in the future than leaders are today. And that there's no totem pole of importance. It just means that as our world is getting more nuanced, more complex, more challenging, we're going to need to dig deeper on the foundational elements, those core ingredients that make great leaders. And so that's why we are digging super deep into self-leadership. And the way we're doing that is by going on this daily journey, right? Working on ourselves, doing the necessary yet unnoticed preparation. So that way when we show up ready. And if you want to prepare to go there, there's basically 2 things you're going to have to do again and again. And that is you got to figure out how to lead yourself, and you got to figure out how to stay focused on your future. So that is my call to action for you. Go ahead and say hi in the chat. Let me know if you're ready to go. And if this whole conversation resonates with you, join the email community. Join the Future Friends. I send out an email once a week on Fridays to let you know all of the content we've shared, whether you've been on the live stream or not. And I also will share insights and incentives for you to check out later. I got some projects I've been working on. I'm really excited about the book. It's coming on great. It's called Field Guide for Your Future, and it's going to be launching with 2022 in mind. And then we're doing our next future-focused leadership mastermind, and that's going to be very soon, November 20th. It'll be Saturday morning, and I'd love for you to get info on that. If you're in the email community, don't sweat it. All of these projects are going to come to you. You may say, I haven't seen it yet. Where's the registration? All that stuff. It's going to come to you. So let's just talk about delegation and enjoy the rest of our time together. Delegation is so important for leaders. Without a team, we're limited to just a small scope. And when we embrace the power of team, when we embrace the strengths that other leaders can bring, then we can accomplish more together. But delegation is tricky. It comes with some ditches. And so we have to stay the course and we got to stick to the fundamentals. So I wanted to help us avoid some of the ditches. And admittingly, I have fallen into these ditches. And so I just want to share from my experience because it's just a few mindsets and a few skill sets that you need in order to see huge difference in your leadership approach. I mean, don't be discouraged if it's taken some time to hit the learning curve. You can be a better leader, and we need you to be a better leader, because if you're already a leader, your team is feeling the impact of your choices already. So let's make it better for them. And if you're an emerging leader and you have this, sense of calling, this sense of mission, well, then you have to learn this sooner than later. And so one of the ditches that we want to stay out of is learning how to delegate tasks correctly, effectively. We're going to start at the task level. Now, eventually, we're going to stair step our way higher and higher. And we're going to talk about how do you delegate entire responsibilities? How do you delegate entire teams, entire brands? But we've been kind of building from the ground up. Yesterday was all about don't delegate your development, that you have to be willing to embrace the work that works on you. And today is, how do we delegate tasks to people that we already trust, instead of using task and delegation as some sort of initiation, some sort of gauntlet that's going to now prove somebody's trust or prove somebody's worth or prove somebody's goods. Instead, we're going to work on building good trust, good communication with the team, the players we already have, and we're going to lead them to take on tasks that will already be preloaded, already be organized, already be established, so that way they can succeed. Lead the people on your team to succeed. All right. When you help them succeed through these tasks you're delegating, it's going to boost their confidence, boost their competence, and then it's going to get more buy-in for your team overall. And so it's really important that we don't come into this with the wrong motive. We want them to succeed. All right. And so we're going to delegate tasks to people we can trust for those tasks. And so the challenge for us as leaders is delegating our ideas versus delegating our decisions. And the truth is, people can't read your mind, right? They can't read your mind all the time. Your ideas are in your head. And so many times we come in really excited, fired up. We've got a lot of imagination, a lot of creativity, a lot of, gung ho. And we're like going after it with this, epic vision talk. We're basically daydreaming like we're having a TED talk. And the team, you don't know what kind of day they've had. You don't know what's going on at home. You don't know where their, emotional buy-in is yet. And then here we come, boom, 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 boom. And we're just unleashing all of our ideas on them, thinking that the ideas are going to inspire them, because the ideas inspire us because we're going somewhere, right? We're leading, we're charging after what's possible, what's important. But when we share ideas, right, the way they hear it is different than the way we say it. We say it and it's like just an idea, something, a contingency, a possibility, right? An opportunity. When they hear it as work. They hear it as something they're going to have to do, something they're going to have to pull together. My sister gave one of the best analogies for this. And today is her birthday. So I'm inserting her into the show notes for this reason. So go ahead on social media and find Abby and tell her happy birthday. I'm so proud of her. And she's an amazing leader, and she's, leading at the home front right now. But she said, hey, when you cast vision and you share your ideas, it's like you threw all this confetti in the room and you're celebrating it, right? And you're announcing a change. But there are other people in the room and they're not thinking of the party. They're thinking of the work after the party. And they are the ones who feel the responsibility to pick up all the confetti in the room. So we have to empathize with our team, and we're not just going to get buy-in if all we're doing is, sharing our ideas, dropping the mic, and then saying, all right, figure it out. See you later. No. Your ideas motivate you, but they don't motivate the others in the room. And that's okay, but we have to admit that. We have to own that. We're motivated because these are our ideas. They're in our head. They're a part of our identity that's being formed, right? Bold ideas, big ideas become bold identities. Big ideas become bold identities. So the quality of the ideas you take on will determine, will shape, will cultivate the kind of identity that you're developing over time. So keep having those big ideas, keep having those bold ideas. But if you want it to be successful and effective in a task to team scenario, I want you to realize where the buy-in actually happens. It's not just when the buy-in doesn't happen with your presentation. The buy-in is going to happen with your preparation, right? Great delegation doesn't happen at the point of presentation when you pitch the idea. Great delegation happens at the point of preparation, when you can lead people into a proven process and then trust them to continue that task. So having ideas doesn't mean that you deserve everyone's buy-in. I mean, sorry, I'm just saying it. Just trying to help you. I want you to prepare to go there. You need to realize just because you have a great idea doesn't mean that everyone's going to stop and jump into what you're doing. It's kind of like those TikTok videos that are floating around. about the husbands that respond very quickly to their wife's phone call. It's hilarious. I've seen, 2 or 3 already. I'm sure this is a trend. And man, the guy, he's got the furniture, the phone rings, boom, he just drops it out of nowhere. It like breaks the glass. He picks it up. It's something super kind of irrelevant. And I mean, I have that mental picture when I think about leaders' expectation when it comes to their vision casting, their delegation to their teams. They say, well, why wouldn't they drop everything they're doing? Right? They're on my team. They're here to help me. When the truth is, they're here because they believe in your vision and your mission. There's a big difference between people helping you and people joining you to do the work with you. And you can have, if you just need to know what you're going for. If you're looking for a personal assistant, that's cool. You just need to make sure that you're ready to delegate. If you're not ready to delegate, then that's not going to work for you. So you need help on the personal side when you're already doing a lot on the professional side. And you're saying, hey, to better leverage my role on this team, in this organization, with this work, I'm now going to supplement some of the things I'm doing in order to stay focused on the high value work. But the truth is, for a lot of people that are learning self-leadership comes before delegation. If you don't know how to lead yourself, then delegation is a cop-out. It's an escape. But when you know how to lead yourself, then you have, so to speak, earned the rite of passage to now involve other people, to expand your territory with team, and to move further faster together. So don't just think, that people are going to drop and join your ideas. I mean, you can be an amazing, energetic communicator. You can paint the picture. You can speak with word pictures. You can, tell stories. You can use motivational language. But you have to make sure that your ideas have been developed before you deploy them. Is the idea actually developed? Do you have the plan? You can't just say, hey, this would be cool. Why don't you just go create it? If you delegate your idea before it's developed, it will no longer be your idea. And the moment you delegate an idea that you have not defined, you have embraced disappointment. You have opened the door to disappointment because you delegated an idea without a clear definition. And so now they're going to fill in those gaps that you left, and it may or may not be what you see in your head. And so there's not continuity, there's not alignment, there's not a connection. It's like what you're talking about and what they're thinking up are not the same thing, and it's not their burden, it's on you, the ideator, right? We got a lot of ideators, but you have to be an implementer. Go from ideation to implementation and learn how do you actually communicate the idea you have in your head and do it in clear, concise terms. And we're going to give you a few ideas to do that, a few tactics to do that. But it has to be developed in actionable, time-sensitive terms before it is deployed. Can you take an idea and turn it into a system? Can you take an idea and can you turn it into an actionable goal? Can you take an idea and turn it into a team thing? And that's what your team needs. They need proof of concept. If you're just saying, hey, I don't know what I'm doing, Can you just take this and run with it? That's fine, but that's not just delegation. That might be outsourcing, that might be freelancing. That's a totally different work interaction. But if you have people on your team, people that you're recruiting, whether they're volunteers, whether they're interns, part-time, full-time, freelance, right? You're bringing people in because you have the clarity and you have the blueprints to actually build something. If you look at blueprints, they're very specific. Blueprints are not like just sketches and drawings. You can get to a point where you delegate the whole thing, but that's not this level right now. The level we're talking about right now is growing as a leader, one person at a time, one task at a time. And so you can't just delegate an idea. I want you to turn your ideas into I dids. I know it's kind of dorky to say it like that, but I hope it sinks in. Turn the idea into an idea. I did. That's a tongue twister. Say that a few times. Make it something you've already done. You have to lead yourself into that process. You have to process that idea yourself. You have to process what would it take? What would it look like? What would it produce? And you have to know that idea inside and out before you ever think about handing it to someone else, because you want to lead your team to succeed. You want to lead others into a successful scenario. And if you can't produce that kind of working environment, then you need to scale back and you need to focus on foundational things first. Leverage projects that you're currently doing right now to better understand a process that you could turn into a system. Let's say you want to delegate. Where do you start? Start where you are. Start on the projects you're doing right now. When you get to the point where you can define the outcome, describe the objectives very quickly, concise, it's clear, right? When you can like boom, 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 boom. I mean, go on YouTube, go look for some how-to videos, see how they would transfer a process to you. How would you learn something new? What would you need? What helps you learn new things? What helps you learn piano or another language or computer coding? What helps you learn a skill? What helps you learn to do a task? How do you learn? You're probably a visual learner. You probably need it to be broken down into steps and stages. You probably need to, have somebody walk you through it a few times. You may need time to practice it. It's no different with your team. Yesterday, I said there were 2 skill sets that you would need to delegate effectively. I said that you would need, do you remember? Patience and decisiveness. Patience and decisiveness. Regardless, it's going to take some time to understand the process, to build a system, to find people, to onboard them, to trust them, to delegate effectively. It's just going to take some time. In fact, it'll just take more time than you want at the moment. So because it's going to take more time, you have to shorten that learning curve as much as you can, as best as you can, by being as decisive as you can. The more decisive you can be, the better. It's going to shorten your learning curve, and then it's going to help them take on the work more effectively. So wherever you are, whatever you're, bottlenecked with, whatever your time is getting bloated with, and you're saying, man, I need to delegate this. How do I delegate this? Turn the project into a process. What that means is you're going to spend actually a little more time in the middle of the project instead of just looking for the, quickest way through. you're actually going to slow down. You're going to turn that working file, whether it's a document or whether it's a media file or whether it's any kind of documentation, a video, piece of paper, whatever. And you're going to go a little bit slower and you're actually going to number, itemize, categorize all of the steps you're going through yourself. You're going to figure out, how did I do this? And then you're even going to figure out, how could I do this better? Now they're going to improve upon it because you're just going in as a generalist. You're giving them time and permission to be a specialist. That's how we're going to build this team, right? You take that first step as a pioneer leader. You're the generalist. You're taking on a lot of territory all at once, but not at the depth or the quality that others can advance to. But once you have the lay of the land and you understand how all of these systems are going to work together, then it's time to start organizing your thoughts, mobilizing your teams, and building good documentation, building good training, so that way people can be successful. So every project you're doing right now is a future process. Think about that. Every project you're currently in right now, everything you're working on right now can be eclipsed by a good delegation approach. Do you believe that? Do you even want that? Do you want to level up? Well, then you have to slow down, right? So that way you can be very clear what is going on in that project. How are you doing it successfully? Turn that into a process. And it's going to take a little bit more time in the immediate, but it's going to save you a lot more time later on. It's an investment, right? It's an investment. I got this right. The SEALs give us this amazing life lesson. Slow is smooth. Smooth is fast. Are you willing to slow down a little bit in the project you're doing right now, so that way you can understand it, you can begin to document it, and then you can share it with someone else? But many times we're not ready to delegate because we didn't slow down ourselves. We're sloppy. We're rushing through it. We're just trying to get it out of the way. We're trying to eject the work. And there's no clear toolkit to hand off to a team member because we are being impatient. We have to be patient with ourselves, patient with this work, get it organized, and then we can mobilize. Now, I have made those mistakes, okay? I'm not the guru. I'm not trying to be an expert. I want to be an encourager. That's why I'm doing this every day. I'm showing up because I want you to hear this positive reinforcement. You got this. We need you. Every day matters. Put in the work. Of course, people aren't going to notice it today or this year, but it matters, and that's why you're going to do it regardless of whose attention you're getting, whose approval you're getting. You're going to do it because the work itself matters, because the process that you've committed to is going to pay off, because you are seeing something that's important and that's possible in the future that other people may not see yet. And so you're willing to go alone for a time so that way you can help, serve, bless, give, encourage, and elevate others at the right time. And so I'm not coming at you like I got all this figured out, but I know delegation is important if you want to pioneer 2022. You're going to have to double down on this skill set. It's not a superpower. It's not genetic. It is a practical skill set that you can learn. And it has a mindset. You have to have the right mindset. You're not just trying to, escape stuff you don't like doing, but you're actually building out a dream team that is going to be on mission with you. And you want to care for those people so that way they will carry on with you. So I've made these mistakes in delegation. I have found myself in the ditch before. And I just want to publicly appreciate anyone and everyone who's been on my teams in the past. Y'all are amazing. I appreciate you. I apologize in a general sense. Thank you for your patience with me. And, for me, I was learning and leading at the same time. And what I would do is I loved pulling people into my own learning journey. I was learning so much. I'm still learning so much. And so I would pull people in and I would love kind of learning together out loud. And I would be sharing all of these ideas about what's important and what's possible and building this buy-in in people. And I realized that even though I meant well and wanted to do well, I was creating a deficit in the team dynamic. The deficit we can create as leaders is if we're sharing more and more ideas, we're actually giving the team less and less time. So we have to be very clear, very concise, very actionable, so that way they have more time to ask the questions, to understand the process, to do the work, to do the rework that's necessary to get to the finish line. Friends, delegation takes humility. Delegation requires humility. Requires humility on our part because we have to say, I'm willing to let go of something that has been feeding my ego. I'm good at this. I've done it for years, maybe. But when you are willing to let go of things that have developed your ego and you say, hey, it's about the team, it's about the future, it's about where we're going and who we're becoming, and I'm willing to learn new things so that way we can go to new places, then you together can become unstoppable. So for us, what is the takeaway? We're not going to delegate things verbally only. Hey, I had this idea. Can you get that done? Hey, I'm going to just, text you real quick. Just knock it out before the end of the day, right? We're going to try to slow down because if we're talking, it's easy on our side, but it makes it more difficult on their side. And we want to practice good leadership habits that help others succeed. And so a very simple thing we can do is instead of just delegating everything verbally, realize that the right way to delegate is in writing. The right way to delegate is in writing. I really mean that. I want you to think about that. Think about why that is important. What makes it different? Delegating things that you've already written prove that you've thought about it. Prove that there's only so many words you can put on a page. So you understand constraint. You understand things are time sensitive. You understand that not everything is always important. You understand that not all actions or objectives are equal. You're going to put something at number 1 and something at number 3 or whatever. So writing becomes a bridge between our enthusiasm and their execution. Writing becomes a bridge between our experience and their willingness and their expectation to get into a great work environment. Writing is a bridge builder, and we want to slow down so that way we can write out the process, write down the steps, write down the expectations, write down the schedule, write down the meeting notes. Your whole working environment needs to be supported and supplemented with good writing best practices. Sometimes writing can be taken advantage of, and writing becomes a burden more than a strength. It's when you have reports to do and then it becomes kind of bureaucratic and it's kind of pointless and let's just get it over with and let's do the work. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about clarifying expectations and equipping people with good training so that way they feel empowered to take on that task. So for us, we delegate because we feel there's higher value in using our time differently, or we've grown, we've done something successfully. And now, in order to keep doing that, we're going to have to grow our carrying capacity, which includes our team capacity. And so we're not just delegating our style, we're delegating the outcomes. What are the outcomes you're expecting? What are the objectives that go into it? Now, John Maxwell, who is a legendary leader, he describes a process for delegation that is really simple, really effective. And he basically kind of sums it up this way. I'm paraphrasing it, by the way, but he says, number one, you could write this down. Number one, I do, you watch, right? Very basic. I do, you watch. So if you're delegating a task, you're not just going to dump it on them. You're not just going to tell them. You're going to try to write this out, and then you're going to walk them through with that written guide. You're going to say, hey, I'm excited. You're going to be jumping into this team. You're going to be doing these tasks, and you got this, and let's go through this together. Number one, I'm going to do this, and you're going to go through these steps with me. All you got to do is watch. Just watch what I'm doing. Then you're going to do it, the same task. It might be the same day, or it might be later on in the week, or whatever that pace is. But the next round, you're going to do the task, and then you're going to let the person you're delegating to help you. Say, hey, let's do this together. I'll take steps 1 and 3. You take steps 2 and 4. And this is a great time to talk. You're talking about the work. You're, getting to know each other. And you're just building that team rapport. And now you're still doing it. You're still driving, but they're helping you. Then you switch it. This is level 3, right? In John Maxwell's delegation. And he says, now you do the work, but I'll still be around to help you. Okay. So you're the primary doer. You're doing this, but I'm still active. I'm involved, and I'm going to support you. Now, that's a really fun stage, because what you're basically saying is we're going to change hats, right? I've been the teacher. You've been the student. Now we're going to change that. They are going to be in that driver, that leader, that teacher role, and you are actually going to be taking cues from them. That's pretty crazy, right? And then finally, you let them do the entire task or the entire process by themselves, and you are watching them. What does that take? Patience. It takes patience, and it also requires you to be decisive, to make sure that you know exactly what it takes to have a completion, to execute that task or that project correctly. Maybe it's to process email. Maybe it's to do customer support. Maybe it's to work on some branding, graphics, video editing, right? You have to do the heavy lifting. You have to do the upfront legwork to build that idea and develop it into a process that other people can learn to the point where they can do it themselves and lead others through that process. This is very basic. This is very widespread. A lot of teams do this. A lot of, pretty much the whole franchise model is kind of built off of this style of delegation. It's not the only way to lead, but it is a important skill set that you and I can be practicing. My wife, Sarah Joy, would go training grand openings with the Chick-fil-A organization, and she was just amazing at it. And I will brag on her later on. I love bragging on her. But anyways, she had a phrase in their team and their culture. They said, coach with your hands behind your back. Coach with your hands behind your back. And sometimes when we're delegating, we think, oh, it's just easier to do it myself. But you have to be patient, because you realize if I make an investment up front, let's say I invest 1 hour or 3 hours or 10 hours into delegating this effectively, I'm actually going to get a far greater return in the long run. I can pick up weeks and months if I've delegated this correctly. So coach with your hands behind your back. Another way to say that is you have to lead like you're leaving. Lead like you're leaving. You say, well, I like where I work. I like the work I do. I don't want to leave it. But there are tasks that you're doing today that you're going to have to leave one day in the future. And so every element, every component of the work you're doing now is going to be eclipsed in one way or another. So lead the meetings the way you're, with the mindset that one day I'm going to be leaving this function. I'm going to be leaving this responsibility to someone else. Everything you're doing right now has the potential of delegating. And so you're thinking, how would I define this process? How would I describe the steps and stages to get it done? Like define what done looks like, right? You have to define what done looks like, and you have to describe what finished feels like. And that's not just semantics. It's not just cool wording. I mean it for real. Like, what is the difference in your estimation between like a 1 and a 10? You can't just be like subjective about it. It can't just be in your head. That's what I'm saying. Get the work out of your head. It's not just an idea. It's not just a theory. You've got to make it actionable and helpful so that way other people can take action and help you. And I think, to summarize all this, what I'm saying is if you don't organize your thoughts, you'll never mobilize your dreams. If you don't know how to organize your thoughts on paper, on purpose, if you don't know how to organize your thoughts on paper, on purpose, then you won't be able to mobilize your dreams with other people. So you got to go a little bit slower, be patient, but as you're moving through this patient work, man, don't waste a day. Don't waste one work session. So many times we're just sloppy. We're trying to get through the work. We're trying to get through the week, and we're not actually keeping track of our time. We're not keeping track of our tasks. And so now we have no paper trail, no map, no tools to equip someone else later on. You say, well, I'm not going to be able to delegate anytime soon, but I promise you time is going to fly. I was just talking with my wife today, and we were like, wow, it's been a year. We remembered something that happened a year ago. We're like, wow, that was a year ago. That's crazy. So do the work now so that way you can hand it off at the right time. And every day you're just making an investment in that delegation account. Every day. You may not even know who you're going to delegate to, but you're practicing self-leadership. And self-leadership is actually the seedbed to grow great delegation. Like if you're leading yourself, you're already thinking about your process, you're writing it down, you're tracking your time, you're already doing the steps that would help someone else do the task successfully. And as you're building these out, tools will then help you share your ideas and training. There's a lot of great systems, tools, training you can use. For instance, you can do the go-to. My my encouragement, my recommendation is always going to start with Evernote. I'm a big Evernote power user, and Evernote just keeps getting better and better, in my opinion. So it could be as simple as just writing out checklists, training material, templates, taking screenshots of things, taking videos of things. I got to brag on one of my friends who's also a great leader, Mario Guerra. He would be an amazing delegator. And he would just pull out his phone and he would just talk right through the work. And at first I was kind of like, why is he doing that? How's he doing that? Where's that going to go? But he figured out a way to organize folders that the team could share. And it became a reference point. It became a wiki. And you say, well, I don't have a team to delegate to. That's fine. But you'll never get to the team stage until you go through this work anyways. Like, even if you get, just unexpectedly all this money overnight, and you're like, wow, I can build a team, you're still going to have to do this step. You're like, no, because I'll spend the money on someone else who can do it. Okay, whatever. But you're going to need more money for that. The point is, go slow. Treat every project you're doing right now as a potential process that can be developed, that can be deployed, that can be delegated. And then be patient with other people as they are learning these skills and these tasks. And you're not giving them something that you're just going to see if they'll prove their worth, by reading your mind and doing everything that you wanted. Instead, you're going to say, hey, I'm going to serve this team, this person. I'm going to do the legwork. I'm going to walk them through it. I'm going to help them feel comfortable with it. And then we will see what happens after that. And that's our job, right? Our job is being willing to answer the questions before they come up. Answer questions before they come up. That's what delegation is going to produce. You've done this stuff so many times. You understand the ins and outs of it. Maybe you're not a specialist. Maybe you're a generalist, but you have enough to prepare someone else. You don't excite people with your presentation. You get their buy-in with your preparation. The key to delegation is doing the work together. Man, I've learned this. I want to do better at this. There'd be times where I would pull people in, cast the dream, send off the team, and then they would go off and work together and they would grow. And here I was still trying to figure some sort of, mental math out in my head, some sort of concept, I was learning something new, which was fun and good. But looking back, I'm telling you that's going to be a pivot I make moving forward, is slow down, do the work together. It's relational, it's intentional, and you'll be thankful for it. Do the work together, go through those steps. You just got to be patient. You got to be willing to take these steps. Don't try to shortcut this process. Now, one of the first systems that you can design to delegate is how you're going to successfully delegate. I mean that. Like, try to roadmap that. Try to figure out, okay, let's say someone's coming in. Take me through it. Walk me through it. Talk me through it. What is their experience going to be like? Share real quick, 2-3 minutes or less. What are some of the go-to things that you're going to do with every person every time to help them have a great working experience on your team? Now, there's a much more robust system for this. Michael Hyatt and company has created this. It might be a free PDF or something, but it's the delegation stages. It's very, very effective. You can find that somewhere else. But I encourage you, get tools that can help you. There's another software called Sweet Process. There's another software called Trainular. trainula, like manual. Wait, how does that make sense? Anyways, trainula. Oh man, they need to rebrand. Okay, so anyways, there are tools, there are softwares that you can use that make it simple and clean. But if you're building out your business, absolutely consider them, invest in them. But if you're just, getting started, don't wait until you have that kind of budget. Get started with good writing skills. Get good at, I would just make like an Evernote. I'd have the thing, how to blank. And anytime I'm working on a new project, I would just pull up a note. I'd maybe drop in a few checkpoint lines. I'd probably drop in a picture or two, and I'd have it stored away. So then when I have the opportunity to delegate, I've put in the preparation. I'm going to walk them through it. We're going to do it together a few times. I'm going to empower them. I want to make sure that they understand it enough to teach someone else. And then we're going to start tracking the results. But even then, you're guiding, it's like the safety rails, the safeguards are going to be the documentation that you provide. Okay, it's time to land the plane. Getting close. I want to remind you, delegation is not an escape. You're not trying just to escape stuff you don't want to do. You are expanding. You're expanding. You've done the general work. Now it's time to expand new territory with the power of teams, and you're going to let them go further than you could go with your time. And you've given them tools. You've set them up for success. You're going to lead in a way that they can succeed. Now, realize at this level, we're still just talking about tasks. Okay, we're not talking about entire teams. We're not talking about brands or any of that yet. We'll get into that. But realize at this level, this is like level 1, delegating tasks. You still own the outcome. You are letting them help you. You are involving them, because this is one of the ways that you're going to build good, strong working relationships, when you can show them how to get good working results. And there are times when I'd be on teams and I would trust someone to get the task done, and we would talk through it and get it on paper, and then I would just let them run because I trust them. But unless and until you get to that point, you have to realize you own the outcome. You still own the outcome. So don't just dump the work on others, and then if it doesn't come out the way you wanted, you are in an awkward situation because now you have less time. Maybe you've spent money. They've got their energy and emotions invested into it. Now you got to do rework with less time. It's super awkward. So don't even go there. Be patient, be decisive, go through the work together. You're going to build trust as you're training. You're going to build trust as you're tracking, and you're sharing the load of leadership together. So delegate the decision, not just the idea, right? They've got questions. You're pitching something. You've already answered it. You've done the legwork. You've figured it out. You are delegating the decision, not just the idea. Good delegation is tracking the tasks, but great delegation is training the leader. Okay, why are we delegating in the first place? Right? It's because we want to seed the future of our team, to sow into the future of our organization with great leadership. And so we want to give opportunities for people to grow, to learn, to try, to flex, so that way they can be prepared in time. It'd be like stair steps. You wouldn't just have 2 or 3 big stairs to scale. You would create measurable, sizable steps that they could make, and then eventually they're making their progress to get to a designated point, right? So start sooner, Empower much more often. Be very specific. Let it be a training exercise as much as a tracking system, and stay involved with the people you're delegating with. Stay in proximity, stay in relationship, make memories, right? Win together, and ask yourself, okay, have I done this before or not? Have I done this before or not? If the answer is yes, then move on and delegate it. If the answer is no, you might have to outsource it. Now you can ask, have they done this before? Have this person done this task, done this thing before? If the answer is yes, then you can delegate it. If the answer is no, then you might have to train them. Okay? You have to onboard them and share with them. And eventually, you're going to create such a helpful library, whether it's, in Evernote or Google or Dropbox or whatever, team space you're working with. There's so many out there now. But now you've kind of created a little library. And then eventually, which we're going to talk about next, later on in the week, is not just delegating a task, but actually delegating responsibility and empowering them. And then they can actually build their own systems. They can actually specialize in ways where you just generalize. But it starts at these foundational levels. Don't just delegate verbally, delegate with writing. Be patient, be decisive, train people well, and realize that the challenge with delegation is that your work was not developed enough yet. You develop the workflows yourself by doing them, not just by thinking them. Systems will become the goals you make today, making space for new roles that you're going to have one day. So you start the year, you make big goals for your team, big goals for your work, and then those goals actually become systems because you did the work. And then that work can be shared, and now new people can come in. That's a role. So goals can become roles if you understand how to delegate effectively. So keep making big goals and keep dreaming about new roles for your team. Delegation is not just about tracking the results only. That's more of a lag measure than a lead measure. Delegation starts with training people well. All right, I hope this helped. I am done. Thank you for going on this journey with me. I want to ask you a question. Did you enjoy this conversation? Did you find it valuable? What stood out to you? And then I want to ask for your help. Who can you share this conversation with? A friend who's also a leader. Maybe they're in your space, your field. Maybe they're in a different field. Please share this conversation. Let's help each other level up with our self-leadership and then eventually with our delegation as well. I want to remind you to join the Future Friends email community. And just for going through this entire coaching conversation, I want to say thank you and give you a free fail-proof planning guide. This is going to help you personally as you are thinking about 2022. It's going to help you get going so you can get better with a proven step-by-step planning process. So go check that out. The link is at the bottom of this in the show notes. And when you sign up with that link, you're going to get the PDF for free. You can get started instantly. And it's going to put you in the Future Friends email community. All right, that is it for today. I appreciate you. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being a part of this community. Let's keep going. Let's keep growing. Remember, you're going places. And if you believe it, then put in the work today and prepare to go there. We'll see you tomorrow.